Have you ever heard of oligarchs who operate solely on Kremlin's orders, doing everything with a simple phone call? Or better yet, imagine individuals whom even the Kremlin itself fears to challenge directly. Today, you will discover how Russia's wealthiest managed to sidestep sanctions, vanish from the international radar, and build sprawling private empires that resemble sovereign nations in scale and influence. One of these figures controls a critical segment of the global supply chain, so vital that his sudden disappearance could potentially send shockwaves through world food prices. Think about it. Imagine an oligarch whose absence could cause a ripple effect on grocery shelves around the world. Welcome to a world where power is hidden behind layers of secrecy, where wealth transcends borders and conventional rules no longer apply. Let me introduce you to Dmitry Mazepin, a phantom oligarch who, in many ways, outsmarts the Kremlin itself. Now, Dmitry Mazepin isn't your typical billionaire whose name flashes across tabloids or who flaunts his wealth with gleaming yachts or high-profile interviews. No, he's a ghost in the machine, an elusive figure whose influence remains invisible to most, yet whose reach is terrifyingly extensive. While most Russian billionaires are busy calling up government officials or vying for headlines with their latest multi-million-dollar acquisitions, Mazepin operates differently. He is a master of invisibility, quietly maneuvering behind the scenes without much public fuss or attention. His real assets are concealed behind more than 40 offshore trusts, registered from the British Virgin Islands to the United Arab Emirates, carefully protected from prying eyes. These structures aren't just legal loopholes. They are fortified bunkers, meticulously crafted by lawyers who are experts not only in English legal language, but also in the art of creating ambiguity, so nothing appears straightforward on paper. These offshore companies form an endless chain of shell corporations designed to obscure true ownership and control. But behind this complex web lies a single, cohesive force, an operational command that directs everything smoothly and efficiently. It's an ultra-efficient, almost military-style operation where few truly understand who's pulling the strings. And here lies Mazepin's true strength. Not gold, not extravagant villas, not multi-billion-dollar yachts, which are often the symbols of wealth flaunted in the media. No, his most dangerous asset is the infrastructure controlling the foundation of global agriculture. Through his control of companies like Uralchem and Uralkali, Mazepin manages the production and distribution of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, fertilizers that are the lifeblood of modern agriculture. Without these key nutrients, crops like wheat in Brazil or rice in Bangladesh would simply cease to grow. According to analysts, nearly 1 in 5 bags of fertilizer sold worldwide bears the fingerprints of Mazepin's influence, a silent but powerful dominance. This form of quiet control might seem subtle, almost invisible. Yet, when a global food crisis looms, it can become a battering ram louder than any military force. If something threatens the agricultural supply chain, the impact could ripple across continents within months. His company's valuation by independent experts exceeds $10 billion, but the true wealth is hidden behind layers of Swiss, Cypriot, and Hong Kong shell companies, impenetrable bunkers of legal and financial secrecy. These aren't mere paper entities. They are fortified vaults designed to withstand scrutiny, shielding the real source of his power. In 2022, when Western sanctions began biting hard, Mazepin's structure was briefly added to European blacklists, but almost immediately, exemptions and loopholes started to appear for his companies. Why? Because if one individual can make food supplies unavailable in several key countries with a single stroke, sanctions quickly become ineffective. They turn into negotiations, compromises, and backdoor deals. And Mazepin was fully aware of this from the start. His empire's brilliance lies precisely in this, keeping a minimal public profile, holding almost no official titles, or visible assets under his name, and leaving the trail of ownership as thin as possible. Everything continues to operate smoothly under the command of his trusted team. He rarely appears at official events or forums. He doesn't need to. Why draw attention when his influence extends far beyond national borders? His leverage isn't rooted in Russian politics, but is instead rooted in global dependencies. While others show off their castles and watches, Mazepin manages harvests and entire countries in a way that makes them tremble at the mere thought of losing access to his fertilizers. His power isn't just hidden, it's woven into the very fabric of global food security, making him one of the most quietly dangerous men in the world today. So ask yourself, as countries scramble for control over vital resources, who truly holds the reins? What happens when this invisible empire decides to turn its influence into a weapon? And how many major international crises could be traced back to the unseen hands that control the backbone of global agriculture? The answers lie behind layers of secrecy, where wealth isn't flaunted openly, but its power can be felt everywhere, in the fields, in the markets, and in the delicate balance of global stability. Imagine a man who doesn't just own assets, he masters the art of vanishing, transforming his assets into almost untouchable fortresses. His name is Andrei Melnichenko. Most billionaires indulge in flaunting their wealth with flashy yachts, status symbols meant to draw gazes and admiration. But Andrei, a true strategic thinker, decided to take a completely different approach. Instead of the usual display of excess, he envisioned a vessel resembling a military fortress cloaked in luxury, something that combines raw power with clever concealment. His creation, Sailing Yacht A, is no ordinary showcase of wealth. It is a stealthy marvel, carefully designed to avoid detection. This is not just a beautiful vessel made of glass and steel. It measures approximately 143 meters in length, towering with 8 large decks and masts taller than Big Ben, transforming the concept of a yacht into an almost indestructible floating citadel. Officially, this vessel is valued at about $500 million, a hefty price tag that screams luxury. But beneath its sleek exterior lies a floating fortress, built for one purpose: rapid and discreet disappearance when necessary. Every inch of this ship embodies a calculated mix of fear and paranoia, polished to perfection, not for show, but as essential tools of protection. The hull is fitted with military-grade hardware. Yes, military-grade. It features radar jamming systems that block external tracking, rendering the vessel virtually invisible to satellites and drones alike. Defense systems against espionage devices are seamlessly integrated into its design. Access to critical areas is restricted solely through fingerprint recognition, ensuring that unauthorized personnel cannot enter. The windows are made of shatterproof glass, coated with materials that absorb radio signals, adding an extra layer of electronic security. What truly sets this vessel apart from a typical billionaire's yacht? It's not about superficial displays of wealth with casinos or lavish parties meant for social media posts. No, the main purpose of this floating fortress isn't vanity. It's sovereignty. It's a mobile, autonomous territory, capable of slipping into international waters and vanishing completely from radar detection. Disappearing without a trace, away from prying eyes, negotiations, or sensitive documents. Its communications are secured via encrypted satellite links, allowing entire command centers on board to operate securely. It can host strategic meetings, coordinate operations, or plan maneuvers without risk of exposure. This yacht carries enough fuel to cross entire oceans, reducing the need to dock at ports, often a weak point for exposure. When the wave of asset freezes and arrests hit in 2022, many oligarchs panicked, fearing their hidden wealth would suddenly become inaccessible. And guess what? Andrei Melnichenko's sailing yacht, a just-in-time, slipped out of an Italian port, disappearing from sight within days, just before the freeze was announced. His communication lines were cut, routes kept secret, and within weeks, no one could precisely determine where this $500 million vessel had gone. Rumors swirled. Turkey, the Red Sea. Yet it didn't really matter. The true significance was that it could vanish at will, when necessary. Unlike grand estates or private jets, Melnichenko's yacht isn't just a status symbol. It's a mobile hub of independence. It moves him, his negotiations, sensitive documents, and strategic meetings, transforming a simple vessel into a tool for political survival. It's more than a ship. It's a physical embodiment of resilience in a world where governments can freeze accounts overnight and force privately owned planes to land. Melnichenko didn't just hide his wealth, he turned part of it into a defensive asset that signals not just affluence, but power and control. Now, let's shift focus to another titan who mastered the art of vanishing, Alexei Mordashov. When sanctions cast a shadow over Russian billionaires, most reacted only after the storm arrived. But Mordashov acted long before the storm's fury was felt. Instead of physically disappearing, he orchestrated a masterclass in concealment through legal and financial maneuvers. For years, his empire was built around Severstal, one of Russia's largest steel producers, valued at over $15 billion at its peak. But Mordashov's wealth extended beyond metallurgy. His interests spread into banking, tourism, logistics, and cutting-edge technology sectors. He understood that the broader his reach, the more vulnerable he was to sanctions, so he acted decisively. In just a few days, as international tensions escalated, Mordashov quietly began a precise reorganization. He meticulously moved assets, cloaked his holdings in different jurisdictions, and transferred control to entities less susceptible to restrictions. This wasn't a hasty retreat. It was a carefully planned operational shift. His goal was simple: to ensure the stability of his wealth and prevent it from being frozen or seized. This serves as a master class in strategic avoidance, an elegant ballet of legal maneuvers that allowed Mordashov to almost completely hide his empire from external reach. Unlike the dramatic spectacle of yacht disappearances or sudden physical absences, his approach was silent yet effective, always one step ahead of the regulatory game. It underscored a crucial point. In the world of billionaires, sometimes the most powerful move is not to be seen at all, but to subtly cloak your presence enough to stay in control, no matter what global crises unfold. So, what do these stories reveal about new strategies of wealth and power? They show that in an era of uncertainty, true resilience lies not just in riches, but in the ability to conceal, relocate, and adapt. Whether it's a floating fortress hiding at sea or a complex web of financial structures across the globe, these tactics have become essential tools in the arsenal of the ultra-wealthy. And in this relentless game of hide and seek, the ultimate victory isn't just about accumulating wealth, it's about mastering the art of strategic invisibility, turning assets into shields, and ensuring control remains firmly in your hands, regardless of external shocks. Dolly and her associates within Nord Gold and Sever Group have been meticulously shifting ownership structures, transferring assets into family trusts, lesser-known offshore entities, and shell companies. On paper, only the owners' names changed, yet, behind this facade, nothing truly moved. The flow of money stayed exactly where it was, under the control of the same individuals, simply concealed beneath an additional layer of legal veneer. To outside observers, this resembled chaos, even a collapse. Headlines yelled, "Mordashov hit with sanctions, losing billions." But the reality was far more complex. In fact, his wealth didn't disappear. No, it was cleverly rerouted, flowing seamlessly from one shell to another. Some holding companies shut down and reappeared elsewhere, often in distant jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands. control shifted subtly. Trust in the Seychelles, foundations in Liechtenstein, yet the core leadership remained firmly in place. This wasn't a hasty panic or desperate scramble. It was a carefully orchestrated dance, an elegant performance of legal entities appearing and disappearing in perfect harmony. Every day, as regulators scrambled to unravel the first layer of ownership, the true mastermind was already building the next. Each delay gave his empire precious time to continue signing contracts, delivering metals, and strengthening the financial cushions that kept the operation afloat. Many of the world's billionaires spend their fortunes on yachts, palaces, and luxury brands, trying to craft an image of opulence. Mordashov, by contrast, invested in a fog, a shroud so dense that it could swallow an entire empire worth approximately $29 billion without breaking any law on paper. When this corporate mist eventually disperses, what will become clear? That the empire was never truly gone. It simply became more intricate, more hidden, less accessible to prying eyes. Now consider Vladimir Lysin, a titan of steel whose fortress isn't built from concrete or steel, but meticulously encrypted code. Unlike many Russian billionaires whose wealth resides behind lavish palaces or shimmering yachts, Lysin constructed a fortress out of data and cryptography. His fortune, estimated at over $23 billion, is rooted in the steel industry. Through his control of Novolipetsk Steel, known as NLMK, Lysin commands a substantial part of the entire steel supply chain, from manufacturing raw sheets for infrastructure projects to specialized alloys used in both civilian and military applications. But the true mystery isn't just what he produces, it's how his security system is arranged. His logistics centers are protected by Faraday cages designed to block all wireless signals, making electronic eavesdropping or hacking nearly impossible. They operate within a digital fortress so advanced that it surpasses most private companies, resembling security protocols found at nuclear facilities or intelligence agencies, not typical corporate offices. Some of his internal systems are completely isolated from the internet. These are known as air-gap networks, specifically created to prevent any external access. Documents and supply contracts are stored in separate digital vaults, distributed across multiple encrypted servers and gray area databases that are not directly connected to Russian government infrastructure. Data flows are carefully encrypted multiple times, passing through layered checks and routed via servers located in Europe and Switzerland. Instead of a private security army, Lysin relies on an IT militia, retired intelligence officers, cryptographers, and international compliance lawyers, whose mission is not just protection, but making any infiltration attempts nearly impossible. When sanctions severely impacted Russian assets, many companies faced freezing and blocking. However, Lysin's chain of assets often appeared as an intricate global network, traders and suppliers dispersed across Austria, Belgium, the UAE, and Singapore, resisting simple localization or direct control. It was a digital maze, an invisible fortress safeguarding a vast wealth that continues to operate behind a veil. So next time you hear about sanctions freezing Russian billionaires' assets, ask yourself, how much of what you see is real? How much is hidden behind layers of deception? The truth is, much of their wealth isn't gone. It's simply cloaked in a digital and legal fog, designed to protect, conceal, and endure. Because in a world where control is increasingly contested in bytes rather than physical space, the real battleground isn't just wealth, but the art of invisibility itself. Many remain unaware that the final steel product could actually originate from Russia. Imagine this, a vast steel empire, built not only with physical structures, but woven into complex web-like networks of numbers, contracts, and encrypted communication channels. These unseen arteries keep the empire thriving far beyond what most can see or comprehend. But to truly reach the core of this massive operation, its beating heart, you can no longer rely solely on sanctions targeting a single individual. No, that's no longer enough. It requires dismantling dozens, perhaps hundreds, of interconnected links spread across every corner of the globe. And here's the catch. Achieving this is seldom quick or easy, because the political will and the time required to break such extensive networks are often in short supply. This is the reality of how a formidable and secretive system operates, a sprawling, invisible machine interconnected through alliances, encrypted channels, and covert agreements. Now, imagine the man at the center of this web, Igor Sekin, a figure who is not merely a corporate leader, but almost a force of nature, a powerful character wielding a throne carved from oil and influence. Yet strangely enough, Sekin appears to dislike cameras and public scrutiny. Does anyone around him enjoy being in the spotlight? Probably not. But that's precisely how he prefers it. For nearly 20 years, he has held a position of incredible influence, one of the most intimidating and commanding figures within Russian business circles. His name is often whispered with a mix of fear and respect, second only to Vladimir Putin, not just in terms of power, but also in the level of paranoia that surrounds him. Officially, he is the CEO of Rosneft, Russia's largest oil company, valued at over $75 billion. But behind this official title lies a different reality. Sekin is not just managing a corporation. He is controlling a significant portion of the nation's energy supply and, more importantly, wielding influence over Russia's political and security apparatus. How does he accomplish this? He exploits state resources as if they were his personal tools, unlike others who rely solely on private security. His inner circle comprises former intelligence officers, elite security units, government officials, and diplomats, many strategically stationed across different countries. Their operations? Much of what they do doesn't happen in open meeting rooms or formal negotiations. Instead, it unfolds in closed hotel chambers or during late-night flights to places such as Caracas, Tehran, or Beijing. These secret meetings, hidden from the public eye, are where crucial decisions are made, decisions that extend Russia's influence far beyond its borders. Under Sekin's leadership, Rosneft has boldly entered international waters, in Venezuela, for example, where it negotiated multi-billion-dollar pipeline agreements with China. We're talking about staggering sums exceeding $400 billion, all aimed at reshaping global oil supply networks. Furthermore, Sekin secured rights to develop Arctic oil fields, an initiative that is literally rewriting the map of global energy transportation. Each daring move makes him more prominent on the world stage, drawing the attention of foreign intelligence agencies and rival elites alike. The increasing pressure brings sanctions, heightened scrutiny, and threats from within the country's power circles. Thus, Sekin's influence becomes both a source of resilience and vulnerability, a double-edged sword. He is often dubbed the Darth Vader of the Russian economy, and not just as a metaphor. This nickname reflects his deliberate silence, his preference for operating behind closed doors, and his style, strict, disciplined, and shrouded in secrecy. Around him, a fortress has been built, loyal associates, clandestine deals, and an atmosphere of constant fear. The more tightly his network is woven, the more visible he becomes, almost unavoidable. Today, Sekin's power functions as both armor and a fragile weakness. Being so close to the top grants unimaginable resources, yet also places him in the crosshairs of blacklists, regime symbols, and pressure campaigns. Now, compare him to Roman Abramovich. For many years, Abramovich was considered Russia's face to the outside world, at least in the West's view, owner of Chelsea Football Club, a regular presence in socialite circles, a man with assets estimated at over $14 billion. His art collection, private jets, mega yachts, and properties on the world's most luxurious beaches made him a symbol of prestige and wealth. He embodied the modern Russian billionaire who navigated the chaos of the 1990s and emerged as a prominent figure, recognizable, acceptable, even admired by Western audiences. But in 2022, everything changed dramatically. During secret negotiations aimed at resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Abramovich's health and stability reportedly raised concerns. Witnesses noticed strange symptoms, suspicious signs of poisoning, or something more insidious. Media outlets and intelligence analysts began speculating. Why would such a high-profile figure show signs of distress during critical diplomatic talks? Could it have been an attack? An attempt to silence or weaken him? The sudden shift in his circumstances highlighted how deeply connected and perilous the world of Russia's elite truly is, where even the most glamorous face can suddenly become vulnerable. What does all this tell us? It reveals a landscape where power is built on secrecy, strategic alliances, and silent influence, where true strength lies beneath layers of covert operations. It also shows us that those at the top, while seemingly untouchable, are often the first to face threats, targets not only from external adversaries, but also from internal regime pressures. The stories of Sechin and Abramovich serve as stark examples of how power, wealth, and influence in Russia can be both a fortress and a trap, a shield and a vulnerability, sometimes all at once. The true origins and exact reasons behind what happened remain shrouded in mystery, leaving us without clear, official explanations. The story, for now, remains unresolved, with no definitive answer emerging from the chaos. Yet, even mere suspicions were enough to trigger a dramatic shift, as if an internal switch had suddenly been flipped. Imagine a person who had been walking proudly in the spotlight for years, gaining admiration and influence, suddenly beginning a slow retreat into the shadows. Step by step, this once high-profile figure begins to change their approach, shedding their former image and transforming their public appearance. The sale of Chelsea Football Club, an operation valued at a staggering $5.25 billion, was much more than just the largest deal in football history. It was a bold, symbolic act, one that sent shockwaves through the global sports and financial worlds. Was it merely a business move, or a calculated response to mounting pressure? It appeared to be a forced step, driven by sanctions and a desperate attempt to rewrite his personal narrative. From being a name synonymously linked with a prestigious football club, this individual shifted to rebranding himself as someone involved in charitable and humanitarian initiatives, perhaps aiming to repair his reputation or distance himself from controversy. At the same time, his personal assets began a discreet overhaul. His super yacht, the Eclipse, estimated to be worth approximately $700 million, disappeared from familiar routes and the radar of curious onlookers. No longer visible at usual cruising spots, it became almost untraceable. Part of his luxury real estate holdings, properties in London, Saint-Tropez, and along the French Riviera, officially changed hands, passing to relatives and charitable foundations, further obscuring his trail. The private jet, a Gulfstream, began flying more complex indirect routes, increasingly operated by new legal entities, as if deliberately trying to hide his movements. Over time, he found himself in a peculiar limbo, a state somewhere between diplomatic missions and near total disappearance from the media spotlight. Now he is often discussed as a person with a mysterious semi-shadowy status, someone who might appear where other businessmen find their doors firmly closed. His actual influence is nearly invisible in official statements or public registries. It exists in ambiguity. Who is he now? A mediator? A man under pressure? An informal negotiator? A potential risk? Or a crucial behind-the-scenes connector? no one can say for certain. This very uncertainty has become his new form of influence, an elusive yet powerful force. It's almost as if, in this state of undefined power, he operates beyond traditional boundaries, maintaining a shadowy presence that commands respect and influence without public acknowledgement. Meanwhile, across the geopolitical and economic landscape, another figure quietly asserts his dominance: Leonid Mikhelson, the giant of the Russian gas industry, scattered across offshore jurisdictions such as the Isle of Man and beyond. Mikhelson is a man who rarely speaks publicly, seldom grants interviews or makes public appearances. Yet, his signature appears on projects that directly influence the cost of energy for consumers worldwide, affecting your monthly bills for gas and electricity in ways most people don't even realize. As co-owner and CEO of one of Russia's second-largest gas producers, Mikhelson controls a vital artery of the global energy market. His wealth, estimated between $20 and $24 billion, remains largely hidden from public view. His assets, complex structures in Luxembourg, Cyprus, the United Arab Emirates, are more akin to a sovereign wealth fund than a typical private enterprise. These companies operate through layers of trustees, advisory boards, and elite international law firms, creating a vast network of offshore entities designed to obscure true ownership and control. The crown jewel of his empire is Yamal LNG, one of the most ambitious liquefied natural gas projects ever undertaken in the Arctic. An investment of roughly $27 billion, it was expected to fall victim to sanctions and restrictions, much like other Russian energy ventures. Yet, remarkably, it did not. Somehow, this enormous project was built with a resilience that suggests it was originally designed to withstand future challenges, capable of enduring external pressures and restrictions. Michelson's gas doesn't flow through a single pipeline. It travels across the sea aboard a flotilla of icebreaker LNG carriers. These ships, built with French technology and financed through Japanese leasing schemes, are registered in offshore jurisdictions, further complicating efforts to trace and control the flow. His influence remains a seamless global operation, powerful yet discreet, complex yet resilient, demonstrating how strategic planning and offshore structuring can keep critical sectors operational, regardless of external tumult. Ultimately, both figures, whoever they truly are, show that influence has shifted from overt power to an intricate dance of shadows, legal architectures, and subtle maneuvers behind the curtain. Their stories reveal a new reality. In an uncertain world, power often resides in the untraceable, lurking just out of sight, but wielding immense influence. Imagine a complex web spun with such precision that it allows the ultra-wealthy to operate beyond the reach of traditional laws and borders. Every ship they utilize is more than just a vessel. It's a carefully crafted legal puzzle designed to bypass restrictions, a chess piece moving silently across the global stage, capable of delivering goods to India, China, or Southeast Asia without ever entering ports under Western supervision. Can you imagine the scale of this covert operation? Now, add a digital layer to this already intricate system, a truly labyrinthine digital fortress. All the documents, contracts, insurance policies, and charter agreements are not stored in a single location. They are dispersed across multiple legal jurisdictions, each with its own regulations and encryption standards. Some are continuously updated in real time, transmitted through secure encrypted networks, and segmented into blocks that would be nearly impossible to piece together without full access. Imagine this: if a regulator in London begins inspecting one of these ships, by the time they start digging, the contracts could already have been reviewed, modified, or even reconstructed in Singapore by legal teams working in coordination across continents. And who is the mastermind behind this? Mikhail Mikhailson, a figure rarely seen on camera during the signing of these critical documents. His name often doesn't even appear among the final beneficiaries listed in official papers. He operates one step removed, behind the scenes, through ongoing partnerships, long-term agreements, and complex trust chains that span multiple jurisdictions. While others demonstrate their status with grand palaces and sprawling estates, Mikhelson's display of influence is more subtle but equally powerful, embedded within this vast, invisible infrastructure of legal and financial schemes. His true luxury isn't a yacht or mansion, it's the invisible pipeline that transports gas across a labyrinth of legal environments where almost no one can intercept or control its flow. It's a conduit running through countless jurisdictions, crafted so expertly that it's nearly undetectable and undisturbable. Have you ever wondered, how did Russian billionaires manage to build a nation without borders? When international sanctions began freezing accounts and confiscating assets, yachts, planes, luxury properties, it might have seemed that the game was over. But many of Russia's most influential figures didn't flinch. Why? Because they understood that their true country was not the one in Moscow or London. It was this vast, interconnected network. Their home is no longer a city or a nation. It's a system of offshore trusts, holding companies, funds, and jurisdictions where laws clash and overlap, creating a labyrinth too complex for authorities to unravel. Long before yachts and jets were seized, real wealth had already migrated deeper into intricate layers of ownership. Think of sprawling structures spread across Liechtenstein, Cyprus, Singapore, and the Cayman Islands, 4 layers thick. A single asset valued at $300 million might legally belong to 5 different companies in 5 separate countries simultaneously. It's not a secret. It's a carefully constructed system of power and control. Today's most influential players, Mazupin, Melnichenko, Mardashov, Lysen, Mikhailson, and others, have long ceased relying solely on the protection of the Kremlin. Their shield isn't armed guards, but armies of lawyers, auditors, and skilled programmers. They do not wait for instructions from above. Instead, they exploit gaps and conflicts between different legal systems, moving faster than governments can respond. Their strategy is not just about wealth, it's about mastering legal loopholes, playing a game of legal chess on a global scale. How deep does this rabbit hole go? What does it reveal about power, influence, and control in the modern world? Are we witnessing the rise of an underground empire that operates completely outside traditional authority? Consider this. The wealthiest among us have mastered not only financial markets, but also an entirely new fabric of legal and digital structures. They have built a system where power bends laws, laws intertwine across borders, and assets transfer invisibly from one jurisdiction to another in the blink of an eye. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on this hidden world of offshore schemes and legal engineering? Are such practices merely clever business strategies, or do they pose a threat to true sovereignty and transparency? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more in-depth explorations of the minds and methods of the planet's most influential and wealthy individuals. This is a world where money isn't just currency. It's an intricate, invisible empire built on secrecy, strategy, and unparalleled legal expertise.